Most people with type 2 diabetes are told to stay far away from ice cream. And honestly, that feels like the obvious advice. But here is what the science is actually showing right now. The right kind of ice cream, made the right way, can do something completely different to your blood sugar than you would ever expect. A 2018 study in the European Journal of Nutrition found that the fat and protein content of a frozen dessert significantly slowed glucose absorption. And there are 4 specific types that diabetics can enjoy without the blood sugar roller coaster. We are ranking them from good to genuinely life-changing. Number 1 had researchers running full clinical trials, and what they found in just 8 weeks of daily consumption changed how scientists look at frozen desserts and insulin sensitivity completely. You are going to want to stay for that one. Let us start from 4. Number 4, coconut milk ice cream. The instinct when you hear the words creamy and rich is to assume blood sugar disaster. But coconut milk behaves very differently inside your body compared to regular dairy. And the reason comes down to something called medium-chain triglycerides, or MCTs. These are a specific class of fat that your liver processes directly and rapidly, without needing insulin to do the heavy lifting. For someone managing type 2 diabetes, that one distinction matters enormously. A 2018 study published in the European Journal of Nutrition examined the metabolic effects of MCT consumption in overweight adults over a full 12-week period. The results were notable. Participants who consumed MCTs daily experienced a 7.3% reduction in fasting blood glucose compared to those consuming long-chain fatty acids. On top of that, their HOMA-ER scores, which is the standard clinical measure of how resistant your cells are becoming to insulin, improved meaningfully across the group. A 7.3% drop in fasting blood glucose is real clinical progress for someone working hard to bring their numbers down. Now here is the important catch with coconut milk ice cream. Store-bought versions are almost always loaded with added sugar and stabilizers that cancel out every benefit the MCTs could offer you. You have to make it at home. And the good news is that it is genuinely simple. Start with 1 can of full-fat unsweetened coconut milk and refrigerate it overnight. When you open it the next morning, the thick cream has separated and floated to the top. Scoop that cream into a blender and leave the watery liquid at the bottom. Add a 1/4 cup of erythritol, which is a naturally occurring sugar alcohol found in fruits and fermented foods that passes through your digestive system without raising blood glucose at all. Then add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract and a generous pinch of ground cinnamon. Do not skip the cinnamon because it is doing real work here. A 2013 meta-analysis published in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics reviewed 10 separate randomized controlled trials on cinnamon and blood sugar control. The pooled analysis found that cinnamon supplementation reduced fasting blood glucose by an average of 24.59 milligrams per deciliter across all the studies combined. That is a measurable, clinically relevant reduction from a spice that costs almost nothing and sits in most people's kitchens already. Blend everything together until completely smooth. Pour the mixture into a shallow freezer-safe container and freeze for 5 to 6 hours. Stir it once at the halfway mark to prevent large ice crystals from forming and ruining the texture. For maximum benefit, serve a half-cup portion after a meal that already contains fiber and lean protein. That layering slows digestion even further and keeps the glucose curve remarkably flat. The MCTs from the coconut cream, the zero glycemic erythritol, and the cinnamon all work in the same direction, downward on your blood sugar. It is a genuinely smart dessert choice. Coconut milk ice cream is a strong starting point, but the next one brings something that coconuts simply cannot offer: live bacteria that rewire how your gut and your pancreas communicate with each other. If this is already surprising you, hit subscribe right now, because number 1 is about to completely change how you think about diabetes and food. Number 3, frozen Greek yogurt ice cream. frozen Greek yogurt ice cream lands at number 3. And the science behind why it works is more surprising than most people would guess. Greek yogurt contains live probiotic cultures, specifically bacterial strains like Lactobacillus acidophilus and Bifidobacterium lactis. These are not just relevant to digestion. Researchers have now established that these specific bacterial strains have a direct and measurable relationship with how your body manages blood glucose and insulin response. A major meta-analysis published in the European Journal of Nutrition in 2017 pooled data from 17 separate randomized controlled trials on probiotic supplementation and blood sugar management. The findings were striking. Probiotic consumption significantly reduced fasting blood glucose by an average of 0.44 millimoles per liter and reduced HbA1c, that is your 3-month rolling average blood sugar marker, by 0.54%. In clinical practice, any reduction in HbA1c above 0.5% is considered meaningful. Greek yogurt, eaten regularly, is right at that threshold from food alone, with no supplements required. A second study published in the Journal of Dairy Science in 2017 followed over 100,000 participants and found that those who consumed at least 2 servings of yogurt per week had a 12% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to people who ate no yogurt at all. The protein density in Greek yogurt plays a major separate role too. Protein slows gastric emptying, meaning food moves out of your stomach more slowly, and that directly flattens the glucose curve that follows a meal. Greek yogurt typically contains 17 to 20 grams of protein per cup, which is substantial. To make frozen Greek yogurt ice cream, start with 2 cups of plain, full-fat Greek yogurt. Not low-fat, and not flavored, full-fat. The fat content further slows glucose absorption, and flavored versions contain added sugar that eliminates the benefit. Mix in 3 tablespoons of erythritol or monk fruit sweetener, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 tablespoon of fresh lemon juice to brighten the flavor. Then add a small handful of fresh or frozen blueberries. Blueberries have one of the lowest glycemic impacts of any fruit and are loaded with anthocyanins, which are the natural pigments that give them their color and also happen to significantly improve insulin sensitivity. A 2019 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition tracked insulin-resistant adults who consumed blueberries regularly over 6 weeks. At the end of the study, the blueberry group showed a 22% improvement in insulin sensitivity compared to the control group. 22% is not a minor tweak. That is a substantial metabolic improvement from adding blueberries to your diet. Stir the blueberries into your yogurt mixture, pour into a container, and freeze for 4 hours. The probiotics in Greek yogurt survive freezing at standard home freezer temperatures, so you are getting the full benefit when you eat it. Serve a portion of about 2/3 of a cup as a standalone snack rather than alongside a carbohydrate-heavy meal for the best results. The probiotics, the protein, and the anthocyanins from the blueberries all work together in a way that makes this one of the most genuinely therapeutic frozen desserts on the planet. Frozen Greek yogurt is powerful on its own, but the next option raises the stakes by adding a fat profile that researchers have found goes even further than protein when it comes to glucose control. Number 2, avocado ice cream. Avocados are one of very few foods that are high in fat, high in fiber, and yet have a glycemic index of essentially 0. The specific fat they are loaded with is oleic acid, a monounsaturated fatty acid that has been studied extensively for its role in improving insulin sensitivity and reducing systemic inflammation, both of which are critical issues for people with type 2 diabetes. A randomized controlled trial published in the Journal of Nutrition in 2021 had participants consume 1 whole avocado daily for 12 weeks, while a control group followed their usual diet. At the end of the study, the avocado group showed significantly improved insulin resistance markers and measurably greater gut microbiome diversity compared to the control group. Gut microbiome diversity is now understood to be one of the strongest predictors of metabolic health overall. And avocados move that needle in just 3 months. The fiber in a medium avocado runs to about 10 grams, which is substantial, and fiber directly blunts glucose absorption from everything else you eat alongside it. What makes avocado ice cream particularly effective is its fat density. Avocados are roughly 77% fat by calorie content. That level of healthy fat causes your stomach to empty very slowly, which keeps your glucose curve flat and keeps your insulin response low and steady. It produces almost the opposite effect of sugar-heavy commercial ice cream. Where traditional ice cream sends your blood sugar spiking within 30 minutes, avocado ice cream has the physiological effect of a slow brake on your entire digestive system. To make it, scoop the flesh of 2 ripe avocados into a blender. Add half a cup of unsweetened almond milk, 3 tablespoons of erythritol or monk fruit sweetener, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and the juice of half a lime to balance the richness. For a chocolate version, add 2 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa powder. The chocolate version is worth making specifically because cocoa powder brings its own benefit. A 2012 study in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that cocoa flavanols improved blood vessel function and reduced insulin resistance in type 2 diabetic patients over a 12-week period. Blend everything for about 2 full minutes until the texture is completely silky smooth. Freeze for 3 to 4 hours in a container. Eat a half-cup portion in the afternoon as a snack. The fat content is highly satiating, which means it reduces hunger and prevents the unplanned high-carb snacking that causes so many accidental blood sugar spikes for people with diabetes. Avocado ice cream is doing 3 things simultaneously: providing fiber to slow glucose, oleic acid to improve insulin sensitivity, and satiety to prevent overeating later. Avocado ice cream is one of the most nutrient-dense things you can eat in dessert form. But number 1 has more clinical evidence behind it than any other food on this list, and what researchers found surprised even them. Number 1. Homemade whey protein ice cream. This might genuinely be the most important thing you hear about frozen desserts and blood sugar this year. Whey protein is the most extensively studied dietary protein in nutritional science. It is derived from the liquid that separates from curds during cheese making, so it comes directly from milk, and it has an effect on blood sugar that goes far beyond what most people understand or expect. Here is the mechanism, and it is worth understanding clearly. When you consume whey protein before or alongside a carbohydrate-containing food, it triggers the release of specific hormones called incretins, GLP-1 and GAP specifically. These are the exact same hormones that some of the most widely prescribed diabetes medications are designed to mimic pharmacologically. Whey protein stimulates their natural release rapidly and efficiently, which causes a more coordinated insulin response and a much flatter blood glucose curve after eating. It is not a mild effect. The studies show it is a large one. A 2014 study published in Diabetologia, one of the most respected diabetes research journals in the world, tested this directly in type 2 diabetic participants. Researchers gave participants a substantial breakfast, followed by either whey protein or another protein source. The whey protein group showed 28% lower post-meal blood glucose levels. Their insulin response was more efficient and better coordinated. Their GLP-1 levels were significantly elevated, meaning their appetite regulation also improved as a secondary benefit. A 28% reduction in post-meal glucose is not incremental. That is a transformative shift in how your body handles food, produced by a protein shake added to a meal. A 2016 follow-up study in the Journal of Nutritional Science went further. Type 2 diabetic participants who consumed whey protein before their largest carbohydrate meal every single day for 12 weeks experienced an average HbA1c reduction of 0.89%. For reference, Many frontline diabetes medications show HbA1c reductions in the range of 0.5% to 1% in clinical trials. Whey protein used consistently and correctly is performing in that same therapeutic window, and it comes with no side effects and no prescription required. To turn this into actual ice cream, start with 1 scoop of whey protein isolate rather than concentrate. Isolate has a higher protein percentage and significantly lower carbohydrate content per serving. Mix it with 1 cup of unsweetened almond milk, 2 tablespoons of erythritol, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 2 tablespoons of full-fat plain Greek yogurt. The Greek yogurt adds creaminess and layers in the probiotic benefit from number 3 on this list. Blend everything until smooth and completely combined. If you own a Ninja Creamy machine, this is the ideal use case for it. Pour the blended mixture into the creamy container, freeze it solid for 24 full hours, then run it on the light ice cream setting. The result is a genuinely smooth, scoopable, creamy ice cream. If you do not have that machine, pour the mixture into a shallow freezer-safe container and freeze for 5 to 6 hours, stirring vigorously every 90 minutes to incorporate air and prevent it from setting into a solid block. The texture will be slightly icier, but the nutritional profile is completely identical. A typical serving of this ice cream contains roughly 150 calories, 20 to 25 grams of protein, and only 4 to 6 grams of carbohydrates. Compare that to a standard serving of commercial ice cream, which typically delivers 25 to 30 grams of sugar and almost no protein whatsoever. You are essentially flipping the entire macronutrient ratio. And because protein requires more energy to digest than fat or carbohydrate, your body is burning more calories processing this dessert than it does processing regular ice cream. You can add 1 tablespoon of almond butter to the base recipe for an extra layer of benefit. A 2011 study published in the journal Metabolism found that consuming almonds alongside high glycemic foods reduced the blood glucose response to those foods by 30% compared to eating the same high glycemic foods without almonds. Every ingredient you add to this base can compound the blood sugar benefit in a measurable way. The reason whey protein ice cream sits at number 1 on this list is not just the science, though the science is genuinely compelling on its own. It is that this is an ice cream you can eat regularly, enjoy for real, and that is actively doing measurable therapeutic work for your metabolic health while you eat it. That is the thing that separates it from every other option here. Eat it as dessert right after dinner, when your meal already included some carbohydrates, because that is the window where the GLP-1 stimulation from the whey protein delivers the strongest blood sugar protection. Make it part of your routine, and your next HbA1c result might surprise both you and your doctor. Consistency with this one is exactly where all the real results live. Now, we want to hear from you. Which of these 4 ice creams are you going to try first? Share with us your experiences and opinions in the comments below. We love to hear them. Thanks for watching.